Like I was. Be angry and do not sin. Some of y'all are like, I'm glad we worship. Yeah, do not let the sun go down on your anger. You know, sometimes I don't know, Evan, if I'm supposed to preach, but the way y'all talking, I'm like, I guess I'm supposed to be talking about this. And give no opportunity to the devil. Let the thief no longer steal, but rather let him labor, doing honest work with his own hands, so that he may have something to share with anyone in need. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouth, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. I want to talk today about fragile buildings. Fragile buildings. I don't know if you've ever gone to a house before that, or stayed with someone, and I don't want to even say go to a house, but if you've not just seen it, but you've gone to a house that was almost seemingly run down, or seemed like it was condemned or something like that, and it might not have been, but it seemed like it. And you have to be careful when you're in these type of houses. You have to be careful how you walk, because when you're walking in a fragile or almost condemned or seemingly run down house, one false move can mess it all up. They a lot of times try to use run-down places or fragile places when Halloween comes and haunted houses and stuff. And usually they're run-down houses that they redo. You want to make sure that your house is not a place that the enemy likes to use for holidays. You know how the memes were Kermit drinks? I'm gonna let that sit there. You want to make sure that your house is not something that people use and can go in and out of for holidays. I remember visiting some family one time, and the house was, I don't want to say it was condemned, but it was just needed some work. And I remember staying in one of the particular rooms, and there was this door, and they said, you don't want to go in that door because, just don't go in that door. Well, my inquisitive self, I went in the door, and when I went in the door, it was dark. I said, I wonder what and I had almost fell down somewhere. I don't know where I fell. I fell through the steps, and they had to bring me back up because they told me not to go in that door anyway, because that door led to a fragile staircase. And I want to talk about fragile because even though I'm talking about houses, but a lot of times you're dealing with fragile people. Fragile buildings, Scripture says that we are a building. And sometimes you need to know how to deal with the people that you're around before you call them difficult. They might be fragile. And you have to be careful how you walk around fragile things. So I want to talk to you, I'll give you just a few practical steps on what you need to do as far as how you handle, go to my next slide, how you handle difficult people. Does anybody want to know how to handle difficult people? I know we know how we worship, we praise, we honor God. But once you get down out of the mountain, you're going to have to deal with some difficult people. And you need to know how to deal with difficult people. So in this scripture, the first verse, he says, be angry and sin not. Do not let the sun go down upon your wrath. Well, the first thing is, thank you. Go to my next slide. The first thing how to deal with difficult people is this. You need to make sure that you bring consolation and not confrontation. Amen. When you're dealing with people, it's very important that when you're dealing with people that you bring consolation to them and not confrontation. Because a lot of times, some of us are so confrontational. And when you're dealing with fragile people, you have to be very careful how you deal with them because they're fragile. And when he says, be angry and sin not, the reason that he was saying that is because when you're angry, your anger should never take you to a place of sinning.
That's good.
What is sinning? Sinning means that you have become a slave to what you could be controlling. That means that now anger has become your master. And now you do what your master tells you to do. That's why you start saying stuff you don't mean to say, because you have now allowed anger to become your master. So now anger dictates how you talk to people. So now you snap and you're like, I didn't mean to, because you allowed anger to become your master. So now you live in a plantation called wrath. Because once anger settles, there's a danger in letting your anger settle, because when you let your anger settle, and then it turns into wrath. When it turns into wrath, and then you're uncontrolled, because then you just start going off and just doing all types of stuff, and you can't control it. That's why it says be angry and don't allow your anger to settle. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with having anger towards things. God has had anger towards sin. There's nothing wrong with having anger. There's nothing wrong with allowing something to upset you, but be angry and not allow it to settle. You know how before you eat something, you say, let it settle for a second. Some of you don't know how to have good relationships because you've let your anger settle too long. He says, be angry and sin not. I've got to find some fragile spots. Be angry and sin not. And this is the interesting thing, Reverend Cummings. And then it says, do not let the sun go down upon your wrath. What does that mean? Don't let anger get in the bed with you. Some of you like, I'm having a partner problem. It's not the person, it's what you're allowing in your bed. We've been doing for fornication all that time. I'm not talking about that. Some of you keep sleeping with anger every night. That's why you can wake up the way you do. Because when you go to bed with anger, then its cousins wake up with you. Malice, envy, strife. Because you allowed your anger to settle all night. And all night long. And this is why it says, and give no place. Hold on. It says, be angry and do not sin, and don't let the sun go down upon your wrath. Why did it say that? Well, my next thing is verse 26, and it says, allow no opportunity for the devil. Why? This is the next thing you need to do. Not just bring confrontation and not bring consolation and not confrontation. The next thing is you need to bring is you want to make sure you bring restoration and not restraint. I'm helping you. I'm trying to help you choose your words. When you are, because y'all like, I don't know how to deal with people. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you deal with people. You have to bring restoration, not restraint. What is restraint? He says, and neither give no place to the devil. How did I give place to the devil? Because when you went to bed with that anger, you went to bed at night. Oh, y'all missed it. You went to bed with night. Oh, y'all still missed it. The devil is the prince of the night. And when you go to bed with anger, you've now given the enemy permission to reign over your mind all night. When you go to bed and let that thing settle, the enemy has more time to plant thoughts in your mind, more time to add things to your mind, things you weren't even thinking about, and you wake up looking at your spouse like, did you sleep good? Because you went to bed with anger, and the devil was having a control in the night. While you were sleeping, you gave power to the enemy of the darkness. And you allowed him in. He says, give no opportunity. What that means is you should never open the door to anything that shouldn't be there. You You should never allow, first of all, you should never allow anybody to have that much control of your mind.
That's right.
There are many times, and my wife can tell you, and one day we'll do some relationship series, but right now we're not. But until then, many times when we have different disagreements or heated discussions, many times we have them, I always say, hold up a second. We're talking about people who are not even here. You are walking around your room having a heated discussion and getting mad over somebody who's not even in your house. You are getting mad, and the more angry you get and the more wrath you get, you go to sleep with that thing and you wake up mad and nobody's even in your house but you. But because you allowed and you welcomed in something that somebody else did to you, you let that come in your house, and now they need to be paying rent because you've given them space. You've given people space that don't need to be there. He says, don't let the anger go down on the wrath, neither give place or opportunity to the enemy. You need to make sure, are you bringing restoration to people, or are you bringing restraint? What is restraint? Restraint is control.
Yes. Come on.
Are you trying to control people with your anger?
Wow.
Are people having a good day before you show up? Are your co-workers okay until you get there? Is your spouse only looking at me right now because you're the angry person in the marriage and not them? And they don't want to hit you right now because you got anger problems? Bring restoration and not restraint. Well, Brother Barry, I want to say this. I was watching the movie. I've been talking about it for a few days. I think you all should go see it. But I went to go see the movie a few days ago called Birthing a Nation. And there was a guy in there called Nat Turner. And he was a preacher in the plantation. There are a lot of you who preach in your plantation too. So he was preaching in the plantation. And while he was preaching in the plantation, they found out, well, first of all, he was young. They found out he could read. They found out he could read, and then someone grabbed him, one of the people in the house. They said, I'm speaking in the house. He said, you can come in the house and we want to teach him how to read. Well, later on, we find out that they only allowed him to read what they wanted him to read. And then when it came time for their advantage, they said, here, go out there and preach to the other slaves and quote to them the word that we've allowed you to read. And it was stuff like, servants, be obedient to your masters. Do what they want you to do. Do what they say to say. You should honor them. You should let them be Lord over you, and all these different stuff. And the slave holders were getting benefits from this. So he was preaching what they told him to preach. And then later on, he found out that he had only been taught half truth. He had only been told part of the truth. For every lie that they told him, he could find a truth for it. So he was only preaching half of it so that they could be controlled. And there are some of us who we don't even want to deal with the truth because our half-truth has been able to control people that are around us. So we have so manipulated people so long that our half-truth is controlling people. And the thing is you're preaching to people who hadn't read anyway, so they don't know the difference. That's why preachers can get up here every Sunday and say, won't he make a way? Won't he do it? Won't he, won't he, won't he, won't he, won't he, won't he, won't he do it? I said he's all right. Anybody know he's all right? Say yeah! Say yeah! All that stuff, and we do it and we shout on it because he has never made a way for any of us. We shout on it because we love performances. We love performances and we call it church. And me, who could be a Nat Turner, could only tell you half the truth.
Come on, messenger.
Serve me. Lift me up. If I be lifted up as the pastor, lift me up. Let me, all that type of stuff. I could. And I could be a false god among you. Don't y'all act like y'all ain't never heard this stuff before. I could be a false god, and all of a sudden I could have 3 thrones up here. I could sit here in the middle. I sit in the middle. Guillaume sits on my left side. Mel sits on my right side. And y'all could be sitting there saying and worshiping us because of our throne. But we remove the throne and said, let God be lifted. Let him be lifted up. Don't lift me up. Don't exalt the preacher. Don't exalt the pew. But lift up Jesus. That's the real truth. Lift him up. Because if you lift me up, I'll mess you up. And there are a whole bunch of people who have been lifted up and messed up people, and they don't want to go to church no more because we got so lifted up and we messed up people. But the devil is a liar. I want to preach restoration and not restraint. Restoration. Restore you. He himself will restore you, establish you, and he will lift you up. I want to be restored by God. And you, in order to do that though, Miss Bridget, in order to do that, that means I can't be angry. Because if I'm angry, then I will develop angry leaders. And if I'm angry myself, because whatever is in me will come out. I'm trying to help y'all. Whatever's in me is what's going to come out. And if I'm angry and I got hurt, then eventually I'm going to hurt you, because hurt people hurt other people. Angry people go off on other angry people. Manipulators manipulate other people. I'm trying to break the cycle, because the cycle must stop in this church. It's got to stop. I've got to preach restoration and not have to give no place to the devil. No place. Look at someone, say no place. I don't want the devil to have a welcome mat and say welcome home. I don't want him to find a crack or a crevice that he could come in. No, no, no. So it says give no place to the devil. The next thing is, and I'm just playing up here. The next thing is, he says, let him that steal no longer, but let him find something to do with his hands. The next thing is you want to make sure that you renew what's right and repeal what's wrong. What does that mean? If there's something that's not done right, I want to renew it. Repeal means to remove what's wrong. That's what repeal means. You know how sometimes you have repellent on your car when it's raining? If your windshields ain't working, your windshield wipers ain't working. Anybody ever had their windshield wipers not work? You got to spray that little thing on there. I know I got some people in here that gone through hard times before. All of y'all ain't grew up in the right place. Y'all act like I don't know what he's talking about. I have always had my windshield wipers working just fine. They work properly. Got my initials on them. Some of you had to spray repellent. When you go out there and you're going when you're going out there and in the what do you call it when we went, where did we go with Tastebrook? Where did we go out there? I can't think of the cookout. When we went to camp, when we're camping, you really have to have repellent, because you need to make sure the bugs don't find a home with you. Let him, hear me, let him that steal no longer. What does that mean? When you learn how to do right, you need to deal with what you did wrong. When you learn how to do what's right, see what happens is, church, when some of us learn how to do what's right, we then hit our hands like we never did any wrong. Say you're living right now, congratulations, but you weren't always. Some of you started doing right and then you left all your friends. The friends I used to have, I don't have no more, because you didn't know how to go back and to repair what you did wrong. Let me tell you something. I'm going to make an announcement. Every friend that I ever had when I was doing wrong, I can still talk to them today. Why? Because I went back to every one of them and said, I don't know what I was doing. I apologize for my wrong. And if I showed Christ to you in a wrong way, I want to let you know that was not a representation of Christ. And I apologize on my part. And most of them said, you know what? You didn't do nothing to me. But when some of you get so puffed up and so like, I'm anointed now, but you forget about the times you were out there in the dirt. That's why people don't respect you, because you have anointed amnesia. The reason that I can preach the way I preach is because if you look hard enough, you're going to find grace and mercy covering everything I did wrong. It's not that I didn't deserve death, but grace and mercy said, oh no, we've already paid the price. So our scripture says, let he that is strong restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering yourself. I can't judge people because I'm considering myself. Because the same dog that will carry a bone will bring one too. Did I say that right? And there are a lot of people, you love to hear gossip, but the same person who carries gossip, if you give them time, they'll carry your gossip too. I had somebody not long ago who was telling me about a pastor and some different things that pastor's done. I hear stuff all the time, but I'm not about that. But someone was telling me that, and while I was hearing it, at the same time, I was praying for the pastor, because I was saying if it weren't for God's grace, somebody could be on the phone having a conversation about me too. I don't glory in other people's weaknesses. Why can't I get nobody running around the church on that? I don't glory either. I don't glory in people's weaknesses. A pastor falling does not make me look good and say, oh, shoot, I knew he was living wrong. No, it affects all of us. I can't say to my hand, I don't need it. I can't say to my foot, I don't need it. If you cut off my hand, I'm going to miss it. If somebody's church is struggling, I'm praying for it, because that's somebody's life that's connected to that church. If there was something leaked all over the world that I went up and me and Quan got together, everybody would be messed up, including Precious. If I had babies, everybody would be messed up. Not because somebody fell, but because your life is invested in this church. This is not a laughing matter. These are people's lives that are affected. So when you open your mouth to gossip, you're giving room for the devil to sneak in. Because why are you so easy to gossip on somebody and you mad when people talk about you? How are you so comfortable resharing mess, but you don't want nobody resharing a screenshot in your stuff? Let he that is restored restore somebody else in the spirit of meekness, considering yourself. Before I hit like, I'm considering myself. Let him who steal no longer. What does that mean? Let him who steal no longer. And he says, and let him find something to do with his hands. What I mean is, when you take something out of my hand, it's empty. When you take something out of my spirit, it's empty. And if I don't replace a habit, if I don't replace a bad habit with a good habit, there's empty space. Some of you got delivered, but you didn't fill that space with anything else. You stopped smoking, but you didn't fill that space with anything else. So now you just got time. And an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So when he said, make sure that him who steals no longer, but let him find something to do with his hands, what I mean is, if you take something from me, then what am I going to do with the time I used to have? And there are some of you can't stay out of bad relationships, because every time you get out of the bad one, you got idle time to find somebody else who looks like the other joker you just left. So if you don't fill your space and stop listening to Brian McKnight and love music at nighttime saying, I'm so lonely. If you don't go out there to Regal Cinemas and get you a season discount and go watch every movie you need to watch, go out and date yourself, go over there to Shakespeare and Company, put you on some 5.5-inch stilettos and walk up in there. They say, are you waiting on anybody? I'm waiting on myself. What you talking about? You better walk in there and say, oh, y'all waiting on me? I'm sorry. Hey, I'm just coming, dating myself. You have to replace the empty space with something. Because if you don't replace the empty space with anything, then something worse can come there. You want scripture for it? I give it to you. The Bible says in Matthew, he says, when a spirit goes out of a man, it looks and it finds other places to go. And when it doesn't find any other place to go, it comes back. And when it comes back 10 times stronger than what it was before. And some of you saying, I don't know why I can't deliver this time. Because what came back didn't just come back by themselves. They came back with a whole posse. And now they're controlling you in the night. You've got to replace empty spaces with something. If I were to change my furniture today and remove everything, thank you, sister. Thank you. God bless you. If I were to remove the space and the furniture in my house, it would be an empty room, and I would miss it. And every day I go on there, I'll be like, man, my furniture's gone. And I have two options, Sister Bridges. I have two options: to either keep standing there reminiscing about what used to be there, or I can go out and buy new furniture to put it in there, to say that even though I might miss what was there, there ain't no room for nothing old to come in something new. You better preach, Mario. I think I will. I'm telling you, in these streets today, you need to make sure that whatever is in your house is new and the old ain't got no space. When that old man comes and that old woman comes back and calls you, say, block, I ain't got time for you no more. So you got to make sure, because see, y'all think I'm just playing a game. These are people, and every time you do people, you are one step away from messing them up. Because some of you know how people just constantly be pinching and stuff? And there's some of you who you got an irritation spirit on you. And you love to irritate people until they go off. And you just keep picking and just doing everything. And that's why Growth Point was established. Because there was a whole bunch of people who just like to pick at people until you fall and you don't believe in yourself no more. You don't believe you're called. You don't believe God can use you. You don't believe there's any worth in you because somebody kept picking at you and somebody kept pulling at you. They pulled at your family till it all unraveled. They pulled at your mind till you almost lost it. They pulled at your finances till you don't have no more. They pulled at your job till you lost it. And everywhere you go, you are a wreck now. And now all you are is a bunch of pieces on the table. Because you let somebody have control over your mind and control over your life, and now they sitting back walking away like they ain't done nothing. Like nothing's happened, and you sitting here trying to put the pieces back together, and you don't even know where the pieces go anymore. You don't even know where to start. And they have gone on with their life, and you trying to figure out where I don't know how to pray anymore. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do, and where does reading the word go anymore. And I'm trying to get out what they said about the word and what did you say about the word, because what they said can't be what's really real. And you trying to put it all together, but you just a bunch of pieces. And it's hard to minister to people that are just in pieces. I didn't do it. But because you came here like this, it's hard for you to hear anything that I'm saying because of the person who picked at you before. They put you in pieces. I'm not just talking about church. I'm talking about your life, situations that you've experienced, that all you are is a display. And now, for whatever reason, you decided, I'm going to try it one more time. This is the last part, and I'm finished here. It says, renew what's right. And the next thing is, he says, you need to use your words to build, not kill. How do I do that? He says, let no corrupting words come out of my mouth, but only such that is good for building, so that those who hear it may receive grace. It's not that some of the words you say to people are not true, but you haven't seasoned it with grace. Some of you like, they won't hear me. It's not that they won't hear you. Have you considered the timing of the person? Broken pieces know they're broken when you come to them. So why would I go to you and say, you know you broken? You a mess. Look at you. You ain't even together. Trying to read, trying to pray, trying to be. Why are you going to be on the praise team broken? Why you going to go to another church? It's only a matter of time before they break you too. None of the words that I'm saying are doing anything to build. I'm leaving you like I found you. You already know you in pieces when I come to you. So why do I need to tell you? No, you in debt. I saw the way your spouse was looking at you. Everything all right at home? Y'all mighty quiet in this church. He says, let no corrupting words come out of your mouth. What is corruption? Remember last week I had a banana up here and it was rotten? What that means is don't let bananas fall out your mouth all the time. Rotten. Is every word you say to somebody, is it dressed in corruption? What is corruption? Lies? Can I believe anything you say? Gossip? You can't talk about yourself because you know everybody. Your middle name is called Lexington Herald. For those of you who are in Louisville, Courier Journal, whatever it is, I don't know. You cannot speak and build up people because you got so much to tell. Now, I need about 4 people real quick that will come up here real quick. 4 people, come on up. Come on, 4 people. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you 5. You can come on. You can come on. Y'all come on. Come on. Don't be afraid. You're on candid camera. Now, you're going to be patient, and you're going to start rebuilding. You're going to help him rebuild. You're going to be walking around looking at them. I'm going to irritate them, right? What y'all doing? I'm just going to sit here and look at what they do. Just pointing. All right, okay. So, hold on. Now, I did this myself. This person's life, I'm responsible for this. I did it. I tore it down. But in order for it to be repaired, it got to take more than one person to do it. I can't do it on my own. Because see, I broke it. I did it on myself. But see, as fast as they're rebuilding, these people are always trying to say it ain't worth doing. They sitting there trying to say they ain't worth being rebuilt, and this person is trying to interrupt and trying to hinder the process. While they're trying to rebuild, you got people who are sitting there trying to talk, but this person is walking around irritated trying to tell them it ain't worth it. You have to know what is around you while you're being rebuilt. You need to protect your surroundings and remove people from trying to build. Get other people off the stage. If you ain't helping, get off the stage. If you're not helping, get off the stage. While I'm being repaired, you need to remove anybody in your circle who's trying to keep you where you were, because I'm trying to be rebuilt. And though I did that by myself, I tore down by myself, look at how much faster it was to be rebuilt when I trusted other people to help me. Some of you are rejecting family and rejecting relationship and rejecting connecting with a ministry or a church because you're in pieces. Tyler Perry said, I can do bad by myself, but if I'm going to be rebuilt, I've got to trust other people to help build me back up. Now, the thing is, these people might look like where you came from. I ain't never gonna go back to another black church or African American church because that's the church, they mess. Just because they look like the accuser, just because they look like it doesn't mean they are that. But you got to trust them to be able to rebuild you and do what they need to do to put, and all these pieces, I'm putting prayer back into you. I'm putting faith back into you. I'm putting trust back into you. I'm putting wisdom back into you. I thought you wanted me to sing. I'm not concerned about your talent. I'm concerned about your life, because your children need you to be whole. Your family needs you to be whole. If you don't ever sing another song, I want you rebuilt. I want you together. I don't care about your skills. I want your marriage together. I don't care nothing about that. I want to make sure you're okay. You do church well. That's what you did where you came from. But I want you to do life well. Let no corrupting words come out of your mouth, but such is good for building you up, so that everybody who hears it may have grace to go on a little bit further. If you enjoyed the message, clap your hands all over the building. Thank y'all so much.